Hi, my name's Karen Gunning. Welcome along to Escape the Ordinary podcast. This week we're down in Birmingham. One of my clients, Alex, had his first show with PCA competition. It was in the disability category and we were along there for a little bit of support. After the show, we did an interview with Alex, which is coming up next. Make sure if you do like the video, then give it some love and hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure you stay updated for any more videos that's coming up. Right, so if you had to sum up today in one word, what would the word be?
I would say transformative.
Good. And through just today, what would you say was the hardest thing just today?
It's going to sound like a really weird answer, but one of the hardest things of today for me was actually looking back at where I started post-competition. Having won second place in my very first competition, that was a very proud moment for me. But after the competition, when I was sitting in my hotel room, I had a look at one of the very first pictures we took together when we first started tracking my progress. And it wasn't just seeing my weight then when I was more significantly overweight, it was also remembering my mindset back then. Because today, when I was on that stage, I felt super confident, I felt ready, and I just absolutely loved the experience. It was such a blast, such a buzz. But to look at that old photo when I was overweight, it brought back a lot of difficult memories of when I was more depressed, I was more anxious. I didn't feel great about myself. I actually felt quite bad about myself a lot of the time. And I think for me, whilst I'm incredibly proud and happy as to where I am now, to have achieved what I have achieved today, I think it's quite a humbling and upsetting kind of realisation to think, well, I didn't always feel this way, and whilst that's definitely a great thing that I've managed to go from this to that, I think it's just about remembering where you started and how, you know, if you really put that effort in, you can just make such a difference to not only your physical health but also your mental health on this journey.
Do you remember any specific points where you think that might have flipped from that mindset? Is there any kind of moments that you can think of that was like a pivotal time where you thought, I am just looking at life differently?
I think for me, it was when I actually started tracking macros with you, because prior to that I was doing a lot of powerlifting, and the issue when I was doing powerlifting initially, before I started with yourself, is that a lot of the focus was just on lift heavy weights, lift heavy weights, lift heavy weights. You don't need to worry about how much you're eating or what the macros and what you're eating are. It's pretty much, it was all just very contingent upon shifting as much weight as possible. And I think the biggest issue that arose from that was that whilst my goal at that time was, you know, lift heavy weights, there was no really any clear goal in mind. Like, what was it for? Was it for a competition? You know, was it a particular event that I was working up to which I wanted to increase my strength for?
Yeah.
And I realise now that there wasn't. I was just increasing my strength for the sake of it. And I think the problem with that is, where do you draw the line? However, when I started working with you and we started tracking macros, we had competitions in mind. We're like, right, we want to get you super lean in order to get you ready at a competitive level for your first bodybuilding competition. So it wasn't this sort of weird, abstract, arbitrary goal any longer with no end in sight. It was this solid, measurable goal where we could go, right, 30th of June 2024, that is what we're aiming for, and here's how we need to basically adjust your body weight through training and through your macros. So there was lots of change, but it was change with a particular date in mind. And I think that's for me when my mindset flipped because I finally had that one solid goal that was actually measurable, and it wasn't just some sort of floaty, abstract notion in my own head.
Yeah. So actually having a date that you could pinpoint, you know how many days or weeks it was, and
Absolutely.
it gave you something to focus in a bit.
Definitely, because I think the problem is if you're only going for some arbitrary notion in your own head of what strong is, where do you draw the line? Do you draw like at deadlifting? Do you draw the line at 200 kilos, 300 kilos, 400 kilos? Like what is the end goal? What are you actually aiming for? There was none of that. So like I say, but you made it black and white, crystal clear of here's the date we're going for, here's the competition, and here's everything that we need to do through your training and diet in order to get you ready for that specific date. And that for me was just absolutely life-changing in terms of my mentality.
Yeah, give you a lot more structure. So if you were obviously to go back and look at when you were trying to just get strong, and obviously previously strength would have dropped a little bit because that's natural that happens, especially in the later kind of stages of prep. Like, do you still have that I must lift heavy, or do you like the kind of I can feel my muscle squeeze now? Like, what's your kind of thoughts on lifting heavy versus actually feeling the muscle?
Oh, lifting heavy doesn't matter to me anymore. You know, that's the funny thing is that I used to have an almost unhealthy obsession with I must be lifting the exact same weight, if not more, with every passing session. And if I dare lift any lighter because maybe I wasn't feeling it, or you know, you get bad days, I would feel like a total failure. Whereas now, because we're more working upon maintaining or building the muscle, depending whether we're in a cut phase, a maintenance phase, or a bulk phase, feeling the muscle work feels like it has more of a purpose.
Yeah, we're not just lifting weights, we're lifting for muscle. And obviously we know that your family's been super supportive and friends, and has there been any challenging times where you felt like it was a struggle with either socialising or anything like that?
And the funny thing about it is I actually think the polar opposites happened. Certainly when I was powerlifting, before I started training with yourself, I was quite a depressed, anxious person. I would say almost borderline obsessive compulsive in a lot of my beliefs. I wouldn't really socialise with people. I was very afraid to go outside my comfort zone and explore new places and do new things and meet new people. But through working with yourself and through pursuing bodybuilding, I feel like you've challenged those anxious beliefs that I initially had. You've given me those little nudges, and you've given me a reason to challenge my anxious beliefs. And I think very gradually, as we've been working together, I think it's made me realise that actually, you know, the world is a much bigger kind of place with more opportunities than what I ever thought. I feel like I've been moved from a prison cell that was pretty much made up in my own mind to basically being free to really explore the real world. And as you know, through your gym and through attending like the competition today, I've met so many great supportive people that have honestly just contradicted the negative beliefs I held about so many people in the past. And I think that's made me more comfortable and accepting of embracing new opportunities. So I think quite the polar opposite. I think the fact that you've challenged me the way you have has actually benefited me in so many ways other than just in the gym and on this stage.
That's great. Then obviously we've got our first tan today, well
Yes.
last night. So what are we thinking of the new tan?
I like it. I'm going to be brutally honest, this is terrible of me, I shouldn't have done it. But I always used to not hold a very high opinion of men that tanned. I thought it was a very, I used to call them Spice Boys.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very kind of vain thing to do. I thought, oh, look at him with his tan, I bet you he thinks he's the real deal. But actually, you know what? Now that I've seen myself in the mirror and I've seen my stage photos, I'm like, actually, I really suit this, and I can actually, it's opened up my mind to the fact that there are people that will do things because to them it makes them feel better about themselves. It makes them fulfill the kind of image of who they think they truly are. So actually, not only do I think I look great with a tan, but it's also going to make me realise that just because it's not my personal preference doesn't mean that it should be anybody else's preference.
Yeah, just let everyone do them and
absolutely
do what works for them and makes them feel good.
Absolutely.
And what was your most favourite pose to do on stage?
Oh, I would say the double bicep back. I won't lie, I just love seeing the squeeze in the back and the biceps when that movement happens. I think especially with that arch, everything just gets emphasised through the bicep into the back between the shoulder blades. I have to say, for me personally, I think that's probably my favourite pose, certainly for the moment.
Yeah. And how were the nerves, obviously, for today?
There were nerves leading up to that, I would say so. I was certainly, the heart rate was up, not only from the pump up, but just from the kind of, oh, I'm about to go on stage. But honestly, Karen, see, the second I stepped onto that stage, my ego loved every second of it. I was just sucking up that energy, you know, waving at the audience, you know, having a little nod during my posing music routine. So yeah, that's natural. I was definitely nervous leading up, but that energy was just so important in my ability to be able to perform on the stage in front of all those people on the day.
Yeah, no, it's definitely all about enjoying the journey, and you put all the hard work in, and what you've done is what you've done. Can't change it on the day, so when you get up on stage, it's just enjoy it.
It's worth enjoying, because you've worked this hard to get to this point. Why wouldn't you want to enjoy it?
And how was that first drink of juice after, or water?
The best. I have never seen a can of C4 being guzzled so fast in all my life. I'm pretty sure I've set a record somewhere. No, it was the best. I think when you've gone so long without a drink, that first sip of water is like nirvana.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And obviously we went for some food, and tomorrow you're going to also celebrate your birthday with your family. So what's the plans for that?
To be honest, it's going to be a very low-key event ultimately, well, certainly compared to what we've done today on stage.
Yeah.
But right now I just want to be with my family, certainly just spend time with them, enjoy some good food. Certainly I know that for my parents especially, I think it was quite sad for them that they didn't get to celebrate my 30th birthday on the actual day that it was. So I think for them it'll be a nice experience just to have me home, to celebrate in that proper way as family should, and yeah, just to kind of just enjoy the moment and just spend time with them after having such a big achievement today.
Yeah, take a little bit of time out, and it allows us time to reflect and stuff. And then obviously from the show today we got an invite to the finals.
Yes.
So what's the thoughts on the finals at this stage?
At this stage, honestly, that was the best bit of news I could have got. I had such a blast on stage, and it's funny because I knew the instant that I got in front of those lights and started waving to the audience and thought, yes, this is what I want to do. So not only to win second place, but to get that invite and to be told that as I was on stage, that was actually just such a proud moment for me, because this is something I know now from having had that experience. This is something I would love to pursue, and that invite is obviously given me such a great opportunity to continue to pursue it to, you know, the next level.
Yeah. And for anyone that's looking to get into competing, what would you say is the biggest thing to prepare themselves for?
I think you've got to be prepared to be consistent no matter what the struggle is. Now don't get me wrong, right? I've had phenomenal results. Overall I've really loved the journey and the process, but I'm not going to lie, there was some really difficult times in there. Especially in the later stages just before comp, when I dropped to 990 calories and I was still having to weight train with yourself during my sessions on top of an hour's worth of cycling every single day. So I would say personally, from my own experience, it's about being prepared to stay consistent no matter how drained you're feeling, no matter how tired, no matter how unmotivated you may be, it's about being willing to just push through that difficulty, because ultimately you're doing this for a purpose, you're doing this for a goal, and if you want to be your very best at the end for that stage, these are just the trials that you're going to have to put yourself through.
Yeah. Also, we kind of had the hours kind of bike riding out in the chair and stuff, but obviously earlier days we never had much like cardio really going on.
Yes.
So that really just kicked in at the later stages. So that was quite nice. We never had that pressure all the way through. And last question: what is the one thing that you're going to work on the most for your next time on stage?
My lat spread. Absolutely, the lat spread. Well, we knew it wasn't my greatest area. We were struggling to get that lat spread, you know, leading up to the show.
Yeah.
And certainly from the feedback of the judges, which was phenomenal, there was a lot of positive stuff in there. The critiques and the constructive criticism offered was also very valid, and I think it just reaffirms things that we already knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely for me, working on those lats, getting more symmetry going, are definitely the key areas that I'd like to work on.
Yeah, no, definitely. The judges brought up the facts that we knew, and that was definitely...
So that was definitely
perfect. Thanks,
okay.
Alex.
Thank you, Karen.